People have been asking us if we will review Breath of the Wild. But with such a huge game, there is so much to talk about. So, we decided to break it down into a series of podcasts. This is episode 1, where we discuss the storytelling of Breath of the Wild. You're listening to Zelda Pod Smashers. So I am here with Frank from Zelda Pod Smashers and Hyrule Blog.
Yep.
And we have our guest Connor.
Hello.
Hey. So you and I met on Zelda Universe, where you linked to a video that I really liked. So I advise all viewers listeners to check it out, to check out your channel. It's in the link below. It was a video about the story of Link's Awakening, and that's the reason why we asked you for this topic, because I could notice that you really like storytelling, right?
Yes, the story of Zelda is one of the main things that attracts me to the series. I follow it pretty religiously ever since, well, pretty much my whole life. And that's the main point of my channel, and it's one of the major things I like to look at. I write articles as well for Zelda Universe. So.
Cool. Did you play all Zeldas, by the way?
Yes, I have successfully completed all Zelda games. At least all the main ones. I pretend the CDIs don't exist.
Yeah, same here. Frank and I also played all of it, so cool. We can really compare some stuff here. So, we all finished Breath of the Wild by now.
Yes.
And the interesting thing was, Nintendo had a challenge. They were telling a story in a non-linear world where the player could go anywhere. So, the old methods didn't work anymore. So they had to come up with something new. What are your first thoughts? Like, Frank, how did you like the story or the storytelling?
I'm not really interested in the story as much, and I actually didn't like it that much. I don't even agree that it was necessary to do this memory flashback thing. I guess it was smart in some way, because you can explore and you also explore the story that way. It was okay. But especially the ending didn't really satisfy me, so it's not bad, but it's also not really great, I suppose.
Yeah, I agreed. Connor, what did you think?
Yeah, the story definitely had to take a back seat to everything that was going on. The biggest issue that I had with it was the fact that it felt as if you kind of came into the story as an afterthought, because all of the main things that had happened before. All the things that you didn't actually directly interact with, that's where all the meat of the story lies. And then now you come in 100 years later after the story, and it's almost a follow-up as far as a narrative is concerned.
Right. Oh, that's actually a good point. It feels like a sequel, and then you never got to play the original game.
I would be fascinated to see how the original game itself would play out.
I think that what their attention is I believe that we are going to make an anime movie for Breath of the Wild, which is based on the storyline 100 years ago. So just telling the whole thing, you know. I mean, we teased something like this last year, like we are interested in making new movies, like animated movies mainly. And that Zelda would be a potential candidate. And I guess it just makes sense to use Breath of the Wild, which has become a really, really popular game by now. Would be used for something like that. And maybe we even designed the story with this in mind. You know,
we actually talked about an anime or maybe a real life series in another podcast a few years ago, I think. But,
what if, this is just throwing it out there, what if the DLC story that's supposed to be implemented at the end of the year, what if that flashes us back to that section?
No, I don't think so. If anything, we might add some new memories to the game, but I don't think that the DLC story will do anything major. Like some people expect that it takes place in the post game, like after the ending, you know, with Link and with Link and Zelda after the actual story. But I don't think that anything in the DLC will be of big importance. It will be some story, but it will be taken the time of the game.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get gameplay in the past. Would just not work out very well. But back to the way the storytelling works in the game, I actually think it's smart, and I was even speculating a little bit about it before they announced all these memories that you had to recover. Because if you think about it, memories in your head are never linear. You don't go through all your memories from childhood up to the present. No, you can recall anything whenever you want. So if Link does that, it makes sense, and you have to piece it together. I think it's a pretty smart way to get around the non-linearity of the game.
I definitely agree. This is the only way that it could feasibly be done. If you can go anywhere and do anything right off the bat, it makes sense to be able to collect the story in whatever order you happen to run into them.
Yeah, I agree that this was a smart way to do this, but I don't see how it's necessary to create a non-linear experience, because Zelda games have been non-linear in the past, maybe not as much as Breath of the Wild, but still to a certain point here, like you could do the temples in Ocarina of Time in different order, but you still experience the story anyway. It's just that there's some pieces where it's a section to itself, like, okay, you have the whole Desert Gerudo storyline, it comes out together, but you can play it at any time in the game, you know.
You mean Breath of the Wild now? Or
yeah, in general, I mean, I guess it goes the same with Ocarina of Time, but it's just more noticeable in Breath of the Wild. I think it was a smart way to do these memories, because it was something you can find in the environment and explore the story this way. But I don't think it's necessary to have this for a non-linear Zelda game.
Yeah, and it's not really the only way they do storytelling in the game, but we'll get to that. One thing I wanted to mention about the memories, some were just so short. It's like the first memory that I recovered was the one close to the Great Plateau, near this lake. And it's basically Zelda telling to Link, "Alright, we're going to Death Mountain. Hurry up, Link. Let's see what's wrong with the..." And that's it. And I thought, okay, well, it's cool, I guess, to hear Zelda talk, but not much is happening. Some memories were really awesome, and they were important, but some, I was expecting a little bit more. They could have done a little bit more, I think.
See, my first memory was over in the Nehru waterways. So that's the memory you get there is right when they come back down from Mount Lanayru, and then Ganon shows up.
Oh wow!
So
that's a big one.
So that's the first one I found after a wonderful time just trying to fight everything to get over there. Took me a while to actually get used to the gameplay. So I do that, and it's, oh dang, what have I walked into?
Yeah, but that set some high expectations for you, I assume.
The fact that I got that memory so early set the tone for all of the memories and for the gameplay for the rest of the time. Because you see what Zelda is actually going through herself.
Yeah.
So, I don't mind a lot of the tidbit memories that you would get in random order, but some of the major ones I feel would make more sense if they had a specific point earlier on in the game. Because that gives you a stronger emotional tie to the game.
Yeah.
And so instead of just exploring and, oh, look at all this pretty stuff and things I can kill, you have a reason to care for what's going on.
Yeah. So it's mostly the order that bothered you then?
It's not the order so much as certain memories can set the tone better than others. And so some memories I think should have been part of the gameplay.
Well, you get that with when at the Temple of Time. Basically, it's like a first memory, but it's not saved as one of the memories. You have like this big cutscene which does wrap the story for you.
I suppose
told by the old man, and
yeah. It certainly gives you context to why the world is what it's at and why you're there.
Yep.
But since you're still a blank slate, you don't have a real reason to care as much.
Yeah.
Well, you're basically a blank slate for most of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You never really recover all your memories. You just get 18 of them and that's it.
I think it would have been better for the storytelling, but it would have gone at the cost of non-linearity and the freedom of people. Because I know a lot of people who play Zelda not for the story, but for the gameplay. And
me. I do this.
Yeah.
And I love the more non-linear aspect. It's exploration and combat. That's important. And I'm happy that we are trying to adjust the storytelling to this more non-linear approach. As opposed to Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess, which were two games where they really make the tunnel for me, funneled me through the story and the environments the same. I didn't really enjoy this.
No.
In this way, Breath of the Wild is much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that system works pretty well. I also like that that you could always watch those memories again.
Yeah.
They should have done that for other major cutscenes, by the way, but they didn't.
Yeah, I agree. That was a cool feature, and for example, the first memory I just mentioned, you can rewatch this. It would be nicer to have it, but it was a cool feature.
It took me a while to realize that you could, and I was so disappointed for a while.
I actually used this for this. We made this update where you can change the voices. The voice pack with. So you can play different languages with different subtitles, and I used this to rewatch all the memories in different languages. It was kind of cool.
I've been having fun comparing the English and Japanese voices, deciding which ones I prefer.
I did this with English, Japanese, and German, and it's kind of mixed. Overall, English is best, except for Princess Zelda. I guess you did a great imitation just now, earlier, Stefan. Because she sounds kind of annoying, and it made me dislike her characters quite a lot.
She has her moments in English, but in Japanese, she is the most adorable thing. Especially when she finds the energy frog, and she's trying to get Link to taste it. In Japanese, she's just going non-stop, no breath in her voice, and she is just the cutest nerd.
Cool, I'll have to watch that. Sounds nice. One other way that they were telling a story here was the different storylines with the divine beasts. That was just one story per region, and you would drop in and it wouldn't influence anywhere else on the map, anything else on wherever, so you could do them in any order. What did you think of those stories?
Those were wonderfully compact, and I think each one, though the Rito kinda sort of, but the other three particularly were so good at encapsulating a whole story in that one section.
Yeah, you make a good point about the Rito, because that was a bit lackluster.
Yeah, the Rito part in general was quite lackluster. Both the story and the gameplay sections.
I think Rivali had more than enough ego for that that whole region.
Yeah, and I didn't like this. I can't even remember his name. Like the other Rito character who accompanies you.
That guy?
Me neither.
Yeah, he's like very similar to Rivali, just not as memorable. At least
No.
with the other regions, they did very different. Like Mifa and Sidon, they are both great.
Yeah.
Same with Oborsa and Richo and the two Goron guys. They are quite different characters, but in the Rito case, it was just the same guy again.
Yeah. Ah, good point.
I liked him better the second time, though of course I can't remember his name. But yeah, Revali is the first time ever that we've had a major assisting character that nobody likes.
Rivali, you mean, or
Yeah, Revali.
people don't like him?
How can you? He's
I'm
a
a-
complete jerk.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a jerk, like a jerk who, in the end, does care. You know, a bit like Falco in Star Fox,
Yeah.
always making snappy remarks and.
Yeah, I guess we are quite similar also on their design.
Yeah, true. Now, my first story with the Divine Beast was the Zora one.
I guess
No.
as most people go to the Zora.
Since
Yeah.
it's so close
Yeah,
to
it makes
Kakariko.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I was pleasantly surprised. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I went up this river, Zora River, you know, and you have this Prince Sidon telling you to go along, and yeah, you can do it. And it was raining, it was just pouring down, and I had to defeat electric Lizalfos, etc. And I really liked that section. And then I got to Zora's domain, and it was pretty. There were lots of good, well, decent NPCs around. And then the story was, it was fresh, because it was my first, of course. And then what I also liked about the Zora is how after you defeat, or you calm the Divine Beast, you get some kind of section where they celebrate what you did. That felt like a proper reward, and then, okay, I'm ready to move on. But the other stories, they're basically the same. It's always like, oh, the Divine Beast is going crazy, please help. But they weren't as deep as... Well, the Garuda one was cool.
Yeah, the Garuda
but-
one. This was my first story. I mean, as well, I went to the desert first, and I really enjoyed this whole part of the Garuda storyline. And there's also quite some stuff to do, and I like the characters. Like Richo is adorable; she's great, and Obosa is pretty cool too. And yeah, and also afterwards you get this whole section where you are supposed to help out the Gerudo in town to get another reward. I guess this was pretty cool as well, good as well. But
Yeah.
I agree about the other two, like the Gerudo. Afterwards I went to Zora's Domain. It was amazing as well, as you described, especially if you get there first with the rain and this huge new version of Zora's Domain. It was amazing. But then both the Rito and the Goron storylines and also gameplay sections, I guess, were a little bit disappointing. There wasn't much to them.
I give Death Mountain a little more credit than the Rito because first there's the whole issue with the fact that you can burst into flames. And also getting up to the Divine Beast, that whole stealth, quote-unquote stealth section is completely different from the other three. So there's a little bit more going on there. But I think the reason why the Zora hits so hard is because you spend the most amount of time. You have Sidon guiding you all the way up the river, and then everything that goes on there. So there's a lot more time that is spent with the Zora.
Yeah, I think, but it's also that the Zora characters are much more likable. Especially Sidon. Sidon and Mifa really became fan favorites. If you look around the internet, they are everywhere for good reason, because these characters are really great. And I don't have the same level of quality character design with the others. Maybe with the Gerudo, but not with the others. Like Daruk is nice, but we have this type of Goron. We had this in the past with Darunia. So he's
I really didn't
Daruk
like his grandson.
Daruk is my favorite Goron, though. He's
yeah,
great.
he is somewhat more defined, I guess. But like the Rito, okay, with just assholes with wings. That's it.
Yeah. one thing that disappointed me about Death Mountain was, that Goron City wasn't really a city. It was more like a
mine.
small village, or maybe even a campsite. Wasn't too much going on there.
I agree.
But I also didn't like this grandson. His voice was so un-Goron-like.
I guess this might be a problem with English voiceover, but I haven't tried him in Japanese or German or something.
The Japanese voice still has that same kind of. Have you heard Goku's Japanese voice?
Oh god, yeah.
It's basically that.
Okay, good.
Okay,
I think that's what they were going with. They're trying to basically circumvent your general ideas of what each race is supposed to be like. So the Zora are supposed to be the fair, watery, mermaidy type people, and so you have Prince Sidon, who is the manliest Zora ever. And then you flip it with the Gorons, who are supposed to be the super manly rock people, and you have this wimp.
I guess.
That's a good point. Do you think they could have thrown in a little bit more variation for each Divine Beast quest? Or is it inevitable that everyone would be like, it's going crazy and we need help?
It's fairly Zelda formula.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, what else are you going to do? You have a giant mechanical thing that is controlled by the embodiment of darkness. What do you expect it to do?
Yeah, true, I guess. Yeah, it's just that after you've done 3, you already know exactly what the 4th one will do. Okay, I have to go there because...
Well, okay, for me the first one was actually the Goron, the Divine Beast. Rodania or whatever it's called. And as Connor already said, this is kind of different. Like you had the stealth section instead of some high-speed arrow shooting combat sequence. So it was kind of different for me with the last one, but overall I agree that we are kind of from Malek. Also the dungeons themselves are very similar, but I guess this is a different topic for a different podcast. But it's typical Zelda formula. You have like the main dungeons. You always kind of are similar.
Yeah, true. And in general, I guess it's pretty cool that every region did have its own story, and it was pretty enjoyable.
Something that my wife noticed when we were playing, despite their differing personalities, you could tell that each champion really loved their Divine Beast. There was an affection there for their individual machines. Even Rivali, who is completely snide at you, still loves his bird. And you can tell that they care. If there's one thing that Zelda and Nintendo does right, it is getting you attached to characters within 3 sentences.
Yeah, I hadn't really noticed it, but that's a good point.
It's also part of the story. If you were specifically chosen these characters, like these champions were selected by Link, I suppose it sounded like, or at least by Link and Zelda or something. So I guess that we are choosing characters we really care about these machines and stuff like that. So
yeah, and each one has a cutscene where they just chill out on their Divine Beast or something like that. Yeah, good point. I should replay the game one time. Yeah, I will, but I didn't notice all these details.
Yeah, you can do when hard mode comes out.
Yeah, probably. And I'm also, because I'm working on this sort of Let's Play series, but I'm working through it from the start, and I have all these recordings, and I'm going through that. So that also feels like I'm playing it for the second time, because I'm watching myself play while I edit it. That's fun.
The benefit of playing through it a second time, and I'm pretty much finished my second playthrough, is that you'll never go through the game the same way twice. So for this time, the second playthrough, I took a die and I just rolled it, and whatever number it went on, that was the numbered region I went to.
Okay,
So
cool.
I went to the Gerudos first and went from there. And it's been an interesting exploration, both in terms of the environment and in terms of the story.
Sounds like a good topic for another podcast one day. Replayability.
Yeah.
But what you also had was what I'd call the main story progression. In the beginning you have to unlock the shrines, and then you get this cutscene from the old man, who turns out to be the king of Hyrule, you know. He sends you...
I guess you have to mark the entire podcast like that, especially if you're going to talk about the ending. So.
Well, if we're talking about a story, I feel as if spoilers is completely implied.
Yeah, exactly. True. Yeah. A few hours ago, this morning I uploaded some gameplay of ARMS, the demo of ARMS, and one subscriber responded. He commented. He said, like, "Yes, finally I can watch one of your videos again, because I'm still avoiding spoilers." Poor guy. But yeah, you have the main story progression. The old man sends you to Kakariko village to see Impa. She sends you to Hateno. You know, you don't have to go there, but
you don't even have to go to Kakariko village. It's basically you get destroy Ganon as one of your first goals after the Great Plateau. You can just go there and do it. So
yeah, true.
That's really the story progression. If you want, you meet the old man, learn his story, and then you go to Hyrule Castle and free Zelda. That's
boring.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually what I'm trying on my second playthrough. I already, I'm in front of the room with Ganon, and I got a lot of sweet weapons, so not sure if I'll survive though. But, you know, the game does point you towards a few places. And I think a lot of people did go there, did go to Kakariko village first, and then Hateno, and only then did they start to wander the world. And I think it's interesting how that is separate from the other storylines. So it's like you have a few threads in the game, throughout the game. They all intertwine. Did you go to Kakariko village in the beginning, in your first playthrough?
Yes, I did. Kakariko, then Hateno.
Boring.
I deserved that.
But Frank, you didn't get the camera feature then on the rune?
Later. I didn't went off the plateau as the king told me to. Because I'm like the guy who says middle finger, I do what I want. So I went off the plateau where you find this big Ganon horse, and I tried to tame it, and then I ran around crazily. And at some point I went to Hateno first, and then I went to Kakariko village. So...
Okay.
Then I had to go back to Hateno to get the camera feature.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it makes the most sense to go to Kakariko village first, and then to Hateno, and then get the rune upgrades, and then start the game, basically. It's probably the most enjoyable way, but I just wanted to see what I can do early on. It was quite challenging, especially if you only have like 4 hearts, and you try to run through Faron woods with all the electrical enemies. You get killed pretty quickly.
Oh. Yeah.
Of course, who hasn't died 50 times within the first hour of gameplay?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's good that Nintendo did put in some, very light hand-holding. It's like pointing some gamers into a certain direction. Because some people are... I guess they get clueless if they don't have any goal in the game other than destroy Ganon. So yeah, I like it. I think it's good.
It was a nice callback to Link to the Past. They did that. There was, here's where you need to go to get things going, but you can still... In fact, you needed to go to random corners of Hyrule in order to get everything.
Although in Link to the Past they just gave you the dungeon locations of every dungeon, and yeah, it was a bit too easy, I guess.
Well, they did the same thing in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, because you give
But
you
it was
the,
optional.
you give you the location of different villages, and say go there, check out the tribes, and
Yeah.
what's the deal with the divine beasts. So it's quite similar. Yeah.
Yeah, true. But I liked here that it was optional, because I just turned it off. I thought that was me
You
giving
mean,
it a middle finger.
Oh, okay. You mean the points on your map?
Yeah. One complaint that I have is actually based on something that I liked in Skyward Sword, because I'm actually a big fan of Skyward Sword.
It's
Not so
my
much
favorite.
Yeah, well, probably because of storytelling part. Oh man, one podcast I had to defend Skyward Sword so hard, but at least I had Merku on my side. It was 2 against 2. Either way, what I liked about that game is all the nice characters you have. Like Zelda in Skyward Sword, you get to hang out with her in the first hours of the game, something that I loved. You have Fi, which can get really annoying, but when she's not annoying, she's actually a very nice character. You have Gruz, some other cool characters.
He's a really nice guy. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's cynical or...
Yeah, it was.
Gruz is like Revali, you know, in the beginning he's in...
Later on in the game, he's a nice guy. It's just in the beginning, he's like this jackass.
Groose entertains me.
Yeah, I still want him for Hyrule Warriors, so fair's bad.
Every story needs a jerk, so it's cool. And I thought it was a bit disappointing in Breath of the Wild when it comes to NPCs.
Well, you just listed like the biggest characters of Skyward Sword, like Zelda, Fi, and Cruz. And actually on this line you have much more in Breath of the Wild, with the champions, with their descendants. I always talked about Mipha and Zidon and Richu and Uboza. These are all great characters. So, and you have also like Papaya, or what was her name? Papaya?
Papaya.
Papaya? The girl, Impa's grandchild, who's like really in love with Link. And some like the other Sheikah characters, like the girl who was once an old woman. What is her name? I forgot.
She's so cute.
Pura, I guess it was.
Oh, yeah.
And Robbie and Akala, and it does have also quite some memorable characters, which are part of the story. It's just that, but I feel that most of the side characters are really generic. It's unlike in Ocarina of Time, most of the characters you meet in Kakariko Village, are very interesting individuals, so to speak. You don't really have this with most NPCs in Breath of the Wild. Like, was looking around in the villages here, they're all they have all different faces, but overall it's like very generic types. Like you have the kids, like, and the old people, and it's always the same pretty much, but just with different races.
Yeah, I can forgive part of that because they just have a lot more NPCs.
Yeah, and if you compare it, like, with Ocarina of Time, with the other races, you have mostly, like, with the Gorons and the Zoras, we all look the same. At least in this game, we made them all look individual.
Yeah.
But still, there's a certain pattern to how... It's like in Zelda 2, where you have this healer woman, the old woman who refers to magic, and the old man, you also have these same roles in all the different villages. It's not very memorable, but... I guess with the main characters, like the champions, and we overall did a good job, except for like the one Rito guy.
Yeah. Connor,
That
what did
one
you think
Rito
about
guy.
Yeah, I don't even remember his name, so what's his point?
I liked him better the second playthrough, but he's still just that one Rito guy.
I would have preferred if like one of the Rito girls would have been your companion or something like that. Something different, it's not just... another Rito guy.
No, if we want to compare, the reason Skyward Sword's characters are so much stronger is because you spend so much more time with them.
Yeah, and Breath of the Wild, we're all dead. Most of the important characters are already dead. You only remember
Exactly.
them, so I guess that's a problem.
Again, the entire story happened before the game started.
Yeah. Then my point is that you don't run into these characters all the time. Like in other games, you have recurring characters and they'll have some kind of story progression. But here, for example, Papaya, who's actually an interesting character because she has a crush on Link and she's very shy. You only see her in the house of Impa, or maybe outside of it, nowhere else. And also she doesn't have much of a story progression. I think in the end she's a little bit less shy or so. But I thought they could have done a lot more with her. What if she would have been stalking Link, running around? No,
Because that's what we need, another stalker. We already have a whole tribe of dark Ganon followers trying to kill you. You need another one?
well, it just as an excuse to have her at some other villages maybe. And then you'd run into her and she'd talk and maybe she'd get in trouble and you'd have to save her. I don't know, something to use these characters a little bit more. Instead of just placing them in one point and then you can talk to them, but it's totally fine if you don't.
They probably had a hard time trying to figure out how to do that in a non-linear fashion. Because, like, someone like Beetle, he just, wanders around and sells you things. It's really easy. But with someone who's going to have a story arc, how do you plan out the story arc in a way that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it sounds like something that I could have figured out maybe if I had worked at Nintendo, but...
I guess one example would be...
well, we can't all be you.
Exactly.
One example would be... what's the Korok guy who upgrades your inventory? What's his name? Hestu, yeah.
Hestu.
Yeah, I guess he's an example because you meet him first near Kakariko Village, then later at the stable, and then at the Hyrule Forest. So, I guess it's a small example how this could play out. If you have like you just meet them in fixed places and we don't move on until you meet them in specific places, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. Because actually that's a good point. Hestu is one of those characters that you see in multiple places, and I think I care more about him than I should. Like, what does he exactly do? Not much, right?
Standing around naked. Nicky, shaky.
Collecting poop.
Yeah.
Doing silly dances.
You get the big golden poop.
I do like his dance, though.
Shaky. Yeah, I like this character. He was great.
Yeah. The game does have some nice characters, but I sometimes felt like they could have done a bit more. I wanted to care more about these characters, but I just couldn't.
Well, the ones you care about the most are dead.
Yes.
And the rest, they're kind of living their lives. They don't spend too much time with you, so there's no real time to get attached.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Prince Sidon, whom everybody loves.
Yeah. Everybody should. And then there's Princess Zelda, but even with her, you see the memories, but she doesn't actually show up until after, while you're playing, defeating the final boss. But that makes sense because that was just her role, so that's, I'll forgive that. Maybe there was one point, Connor, I was watching your video about A Link to the Past. I don't know how you'd call these videos, but some kind of retrospective about the story in A Link to the Past.
Uh-huh.
And one good point you made was that at the ending, you don't just see the end credits roll and that's it. No, the game shows you all the characters that you met in the game. It shows you all the important locations. And you see these characters maybe wave at you and think, everything is fine, and it's so cool to see these characters again. And that was a good point you made.
Yeah, I wish that Skyward Sword. No, but I wish that Breath of the Wild had done that, because there are a lot of people that you help, but of course with a non-linear story, you don't have to necessarily help everyone. But especially in Ocarina of Time, and most importantly in Majora's Mask, when you have credits that show the aftermath and how everyone you helped has been benefited, it makes you feel as if you actually did something worthwhile.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
is a
and
way they
even-
could have done that for Breath of the Wild, but they didn't.
Yeah. It would have taken some time for them, I guess.
Well, they probably could have done it the same way as they did for Majora's Mask. In Majora's Mask, if you don't get a particular side quest done, they just substitute the cutscene with the mask that is involved with that person.
Ah, yeah.
I wonder what happens if you don't free all the divine beasts. Like, you have this small sequence in the ending where you see all the ghosts, like King of Hyrule for champions. Is this different, man? It's
I
like,
actually saw that in the video. You just see the king, not the other ghosts. But still, Zelda acts like everything is fine and
okay, so maybe it's only displays the ghosts that you all actually have freed. Like, okay, if you've done the Zora quest, then it only shows Mifa next to the king. So that's basically going in this direction, but it's not much.
One of the side quests that did this a little bit was the one of Terrytown. You know, if you gather all these NPCs and they build this town, and then you, what's the final quest? You need to get a priest or something, right?
Yeah.
And then this character that you actually also care about, because it's a long quest, he gets married with a smoking hot Gerudo girl. So that's pretty cool.
I don't think I found the beginning of that quest. I've seen hints.
Spoilers. Sorry.
You
Well,
said
no,
you completed the game, so I guess you meant with complete the game, you meant finish the story.
Well, yeah, I haven't gotten 100% or anything, but I've heard tidbits of stuff like that. Like, there's this one guy in Zora's Domain that said he wanted to marry someone. There's a guy in Goron Village who's like, hey, I want to find a use for my muscles. But I just never found where those guys come together.
You start this quest by completing your house in Hateno.
Ah, of course. I've never done the house.
Well, you should do it. It's one of the longer quests, and it's worthwhile.
Yeah, but
Indeed, I should.
It's not really this story relevant, I guess. It's a nice side quest.
No.
Probably it's the biggest side quest of the game. So
Okay.
Yeah.
that's really
But still,
it.
even after that, you think, oh, I did all this, and now what do I get? A cutscene of maybe 10 seconds. You know. Could have been a bit more, but at least they had the idea right, I think. Just have a nice quest and reward the player with some more storytelling.
Well,
There's anything-
let's talk about the elephant in the room, like the ending of the game, I guess.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. What ending?
Yeah, the ending. The lackluster, not really satisfying ending.
Yeah, it was a bit of an anticlimax for me.
I guess it
Are
goes
we,
hand in hand.
are we,
really
are we
with
talking the final rendition of Ganon or the actual end cutscenes?
everything, I guess. Both the final fight as well as what happens. We already basically started talking about this with the credits, because there's also a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
But
So if you recover all the memories, you get an extra cutscene after defeating Ganon. Did you do that, Connor?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. What did you think?
I actually really liked it.
Oh.
Looking at everything that Zelda had gone through, if you looking at the memories and looking at her story arc from start to finish, I feel as if the ending actually fits what happened to her. And eventually I'll do a video for Breath of the Wild, but I'm going to wait for the DLCs. But the way I see it is, there's a reflection in the difficulty of the game and what Zelda goes through. Both of you, her in the past, you now, learning about yourself, your life, what you are meant to do, and what you feel like you can do, and coming to terms with that.
Yeah.
This is the first time in which Zelda was actually, like, almost forced to try and find her innate powers. And they never showed up because she was trying to force it.
Yeah.
And then
And
once
same
she
for
lets...
Link, I guess.
Yeah. Then
Go ahead.
once actually things become more natural is when things are let go. And so the ending kind of fits her being at peace with who she is and what she's trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't see it that way. Well, a little bit, like, yeah. It's not so much that I don't like what's happening in the ending. It's cool, you know, you see Zelda again, and finally you both can rest, sort of. You put so much into this, and now finally it's over. That's cool. But I was just expecting a little bit more.
I was expecting actually more of a sad ending, I suppose. I actually didn't expect that Zelda still lives. I always thought that she was a ghost like all of the others. Because it didn't make much sense that she survived somehow for these 100 years by doing what, I don't know, using just her magic or so. But then why are all the other princesses not still alive? I don't know.
We had a princess who was sleeping for centuries,
that's
so...
True. That's true, yeah, okay, that's gonna make a good point, yeah, but... It's...
Sacred powers are weird like that.
I still expected, like, this really bittersweet ending, but I didn't really get this. It's just... Okay, she still lives, and... You defeated Ganon, end of story.
Yeah, she asked Link, "Do you remember me?" And he doesn't. He doesn't reply.
I had a couple people ask whether or not they wanted Link to actually have a voice and say yes or no at that moment.
Yeah, I've read that suggestion as well. Yeah, I don't know. It was such a huge game. I played it for 160 hours, I think, before I decided to go to Ganon and defeat that swirling swine. And then when I finally did that, I gotta say, it's probably a topic for another podcast, but Ganon itself was pretty short, just 2 phases, where Twilight Princess had 4 phases, things like that, you know, but okay. It was a short fight, an easy fight, especially the second phase, and then I beat it and I get 1 minute maybe of footage, let's say it's 2, and then the end credits roll and that's it, and I just get a few screenshots of the game. It was a bit, I was disappointed. I wanted to feel more also. I'm a pretty emotional guy with some things. And I was, I had watched those cutscenes again before I defeated Ganon because I thought, this is gonna be it. And then it was over and I thought, okay, it's nice, but it could have been better.
Yeah, past filler games did a much better job to invoke emotion with the endings, especially like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and
yeah,
you even can put a little tear into your eyes, you know. Even Skyward Sword, you know, with how Fi says thank you to you. It's just a very beautiful moment. But Breath of the Wild didn't have this. It's just, okay, defeat again and the end. And
Unless we're missing something that Connor maybe did find.
Well, the biggest thing, you notice the games that you're listing off, particularly Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, you're dealing with the departures of characters that you've been interacting with for the entire game. Majora's Mask, you're dealing with people that you directly helped, particularly Kafei and Anju, that took the entire 3-day cycle to complete. You spend more time with them, and it means more to you when they have to say goodbye or when they've reached their happy ending. Skyward Sword particularly, you spend so much time with Fi and with Zelda that it means more to you because that thing has come to an end. With Breath of the Wild, it's again the problem of the story happened before the game started. You gain a connection because you see what happened, and oh my gosh, you see what happened, but you're seeing it like a movie and not like an interactive gaming experience.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yep.
Maybe the ending that Frank suggested would have worked better if Zelda would turn out to be dead. And maybe you'd see her ghost one last time, and then you'd have to say goodbye. That would have been,
At least this would invoke some emotion, I guess.
It would have. Yeah, that sounds a bit more like a shock value more than anything else.
Yeah.
The problem is, in any case, there would have been more disappointment unless you were interacting with Zelda more during the game, which you never really are. The reason why some of our companion characters we care so much about, especially, at least from my opinion, Midna, is because you are directly interacting with them throughout the entire game. While most people don't like Navi, because you're not really interacting with Navi, she's just kind of there. And so you don't really care as much when she leaves. And so for the end here, you don't care as much because you haven't really interacted with any of them as much. You would be more shocked if, say, Impa died, or Sidon happened, or especially your horse.
Yeah, my horse died a
it's
few
like,
times,
dude,
and I was like,
I love
no!
my horse. How dare you?
Yeah. Kill Zelda, but not my horse.
Yeah, you don't even need to.
I feel as if there's something wrong there, but...
Yeah.
My
that's a good
sand
point.
seal died. Oh.
Your sand seal.
Yeah,
Can they die,
sand
by the way?
seals.
my sand seal, yeah. I was really attached to it.
Can they even die?
No.
But they just run away. But it's the same as dying.
Yeah, I think so,
my-
because if you throw a
Fear
bomb
dead to
at
me
them...
if you run away.
Have any of you actually had a horse die on you?
Yeah, several times actually.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I didn't save the game. I just loaded the save file again.
Well, you can revive
Well, you know,
them,
you-
so
you
it's
can-
it's not a problem. You can revive them. So.
Yeah, I was saying, you
Yeah,
can
but-
revive them.
Yeah, but that felt wrong to me. And back then, I didn't know about that. The first time my horse died, my horse got spooked while I was fighting some enemies, and it ran off, and then it got to a cliff, the edge of a cliff, and it actually fell down. No.
no.
Well, that's
And I
funny.
jumped after it, and there it lied in
Oh, no!
legs all twisted, and I felt so bad.
That's so sad!
Yeah, and I didn't know
Okay.
about resurrecting horses, so I loaded the game again. Yeah, but
A moment of silence for all the dead ponies.
But those are, well, they're not even characters, but you care about those animals because you're always with them. That's a good point. And you don't have that with Zelda or other NPCs in this game.
So talking about Zelda, so Connor, you did like your character quite a lot, I guess.
This rendition of Zelda,
Yeah.
as soon as her personality was able to come out, I liked her more and more. She is certainly the most human, I think, of any of the Zeldas. Skyward Sword is still my favorite, but I think this was an effective and certainly a different take on the character.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree that she had to grow on me. I really liked her in the trailers, but then my first cutscene was just her bossing around Link, and I thought, I'm not too impressed.
You're like, what's your deal, woman?
Yes.
Kind of reminds me of animated series, if you have watched this. It's just,
Oh gosh,
it's-
no,
the only
please. That's
difference
another
is-
thing I pretend doesn't exist.
The only difference is that Link doesn't talk back with "Excuse me, princess," but I guess it would have been quite fitting in some of the
Well,
cutscenes.
I talked back. I've said, "Excuse me, princess," a few times in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then later, when you find out that she's just 17 years old, and she's trying so hard to find something and it doesn't work, and she gets emotional a few times, wow, that worked. That was nice.
The point where I really understood what was going on, the first memory when Urbosa mentions that she sees Link as a reflection of her own failures, it's like, what in the world is going on? But then the personal memory with Urbosa, that actually set the context.
Yeah. I thought that she felt like Link had failed. But no, Link reminded her that, he was successful and she wasn't. So yeah.
I've noticed a lot. Zelda does a lot of apologizing to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's justified, but...
There seems to be a theme of Zelda, I guess. For a character who represents wisdom, she screws up badly. Often.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not all necessarily her fault. I talked about this in the my Ocarina of Time video. You're both like, what, 11, 10? There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you shouldn't have done anything, and everything would have been fine.
You just left it alone.
But it turned out fine in the end, so...
Of course.
After destroying Hyrule.
You know, destroying the space-time continuum.
Making the timeline split. Apropos, that's actually a good topic I also want to talk about the game story placement with 10,000 years after everything else. And so how did you like this new world, let's say?
I'm glad that it wasn't another prequel. They've done so many prequels: Link to the Past, then Ocarina of Time, then The Minish Cap, Ocarina of Skyward Sword. And now finally, it's the sequel to all sequels, and I don't see it as an official reboot, but it's like a soft reboot, people call it.
That's what I mean. It's not a real reboot, but it's something where from here on they can start writing new stories based on these ideas like ancient technology and stuff like that.
Well, let's be fair. We know how much consideration Nintendo actually gives to this timeline.
0?
Exactly.
I wouldn't say that because we actually published the timeline and...
Well, yeah, because we kept demanding it.
Yeah, it was more of an afterthought, and I think they were using it to hype Skyward Sword as the new prequel. But for a while it looked like they were hyping Breath of the Wild as, you will have to play and see where it fits in the timeline, and all the real fans will instantly realize what it is.
But you never do this,
It's still a mystery right now. I think we could probably fill another whole podcast about timeline debating, but just relating to storytelling then, I think it's pretty smart. It does sound like they didn't put too much thought in it and they just wanted to throw in as many references as they could without actually being too clear about it. But
without committing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But at least they said, hey, it's 10,000 years. Can you count 10,000 years? Do you know how long that is? Anything can happen. So, yeah, I'm okay with it so far. I still hope that they will explain us what happens with the timeline. That brings me to one final point that I wanted to bring in. Like Calamity Ganon, you see that something went on, something happened, and then this is the result. So you're curious about the story behind that. And they never tell you what's going on in this game. And I feel like some previous games, they had a lot more context. Like if you went into Kokiri Forest and you met the Great Deku Tree, there was a story behind it, and Lost Woods had a story behind it. And here, I miss the story. I miss the context.
You made a good point, for example, the Triforce. This was explained to you in previous games, and I guess Zelda is kind of using the power of the Triforce somehow, somewhat. We never really get this explained what this power really is that Zelda is supposed to unleash. Is this more like the Force in the Minish Cap, or is this the Triforce? Because like this ancient prophecy, chart, this thing we see in the intro screen with Calamity Ganon and the Guardian. It shows actually Zelda using the Triforce, but it never really gets explained what's the deal with the Triforce in this game.
Yeah. Now maybe Nintendo realizes that fans like to fill up gaps in the story, but in this case I think there's just not enough to go on.
It more or less boils down to kind of back where we started, if you want a complete story, like say Skyward Sword did, there's going to be a lot of hand-holding and a much more linear progression on what you're doing. While you go something like Breath of the Wild, or even way back when, to the earlier games, since there's a lot more freedom of exploration, there's fewer details that they can give you.
Yeah, storytelling took the back seat in this game, and the open world, or the open air world, was the focus, and I can understand that. I can accept that for this game. It's not like it's holding back the game or something, lack of storytelling. Zelda has just seen better in some aspects.
I'm just worried that people are going to play with the open world, with non-reality for a bad story. I don't think it. I think we can do both. We can do the open world and the great storytelling. We just have to find a different way, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I'm just afraid that we are like, okay, people want better storytelling, and when we are rolling back to a more hand-holding gameplay, and I wouldn't like this, because I really enjoyed the open-minded, the open gameplay of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I think if they want to do both things, they just need to put a lot more time into it. Then maybe we wouldn't be playing the game right now if they did that, but we'd have to wait until this year, maybe.
We postponed the game quite a lot already.
Yeah.
I don't think the time is the issue. It's just that we went the wrong way and it was too late to change it.
It's just a question of focus.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, and I suppose with the next game we can focus more on the story and stuff, like, because we already got the whole physics engine and the open world game we figured out now, so if we can try a different, better stuff,
actually,
like with Majora's Mask at the time.
Yeah, that was going to be my question to wrap it up. For the next game, can you name one or two things that you would like to see concerning storytelling?
Concerning storytelling?
Well, if there's one thing that you'd like to see
I would like a typical sequel story, something very different, like Majora's Mask or Link's Awakening. But, it's same Link, basically going somewhere else, going to explore some other area of the world. And maybe something about the Sheikah technology in a different way, like something darker here, you have this whole Yiga clan, maybe explore this more and to get some dark runes on your Sheikah slate. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Koga was horribly underutilized. If we're going to make a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, you could certainly have it set up. Bring Zelda along so you can get to know her personally again. If there is one thing that I would like is to have a character to have a direct connection to. Because I love the companion characters, having Midna, Fi, Tattle. They're great.
Or even Marin in Link's Awakening.
Wait, who?
Marin, the girl in Link's Awakening.
Marin. I love Marin.
Marin, sorry. Yeah,
Marin's great.
It's actually something I expected from Breath of the Wild when we showed the trailers. I always thought that Zelda was going to be one of your companion characters.
Yeah.
And you're going to ride side by side with her through Hyrule and do stuff. But this never happened. It's just in the flashbacks, and you never really get to meet her in the actual game. Same with the champions. Yep. I actually expected those to be characters like Medley, or something who follows you around, and you do dungeons together.
That would be fun to have again.
Ghosts from the past. So I would like to see a sequel where you actually have Zelda follow you around and you do stuff together. Maybe you can switch to her and play as her.
Yeah. Something that I'll add that I'd like to see is a few more linear sections in the game. Like running up to Zora's domain, Zora's River. I really like that because it was Nintendo doing grabbing you by the hand for a change and just taking you on a small story. I like that, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of that again.
No, I don't agree.
And not too often.
It's actually part of the game if you have these sections where you you have to do it in a very specific way. And I kind of really like the freedom of, can find different solutions for everything. But
Yeah, but even here in this section, you still could.
yeah,
I got to Sora's Domain once, and I didn't meet this Prince Sidon. Then I thought, I'm gonna miss out on some story, so I better leave Zora's Domain, find this prince, and then start over again. But it was still optional.
Yeah, I guess you can skip it and you just meet him at Zora's Domain if you like use Rivali scale or go some other route like over Akalan. So that's possible, yeah. So, but I wouldn't. I would like to avoid hand-holding sections.
Yeah. When I say hand-holding, I mean more like hand-holding light and suggestions, whatever.
So more or less take what happened in Zora's Domain and extend it to the other sections. Extend the amount of time we spend with people in the different areas.
Yeah, if you want. And if you don't, well, just skip it and rush to the dungeon. Sure. And one other thing that I'd like to see is a few more locations with story behind them. Like, I'm really missing a graveyard in Breath of the Wild. I think there is a tiny graveyard near Kakariko Village.
Yeah,
imagine how huge those graveyards would be.
True. How much?
Actually, in Zelda 2, you had these gigantic graveyards, which are spanning most of the map,
I remember that.
The destroyed town of Kazuto. And I would have loved to see this in Breath of the Wild, like some gigantic graveyard. It would have made sense for this game because most of Hyrule is dead. So many people died.
But imagine if there was a cutscene where you're walking into the Hyrule Castle town ruins and just looking around at the devastation. That would have been amazing.
Yeah,
but then again, now you're playing it yourself. Instead of having the camera, instead of having control taken away from you, and you're seeing a cutscene, now you're living the cutscene. That's the choice they had to make.
Yeah.
Because I remember walking up there and thinking, wow.
Yeah, and you can get in there from different directions. Actually, I went to Hyrule Castle town first by going into Hyrule Castle and teleporting out of the castle, and then I was placed at the castle gate, and then I went to Hyrule Castle town. So a cutscene wouldn't work there because you needed an entry point.
Fair point.
Yeah. But I do agree that they could throw in a few more cutscenes here and there.
And make them rewatchable, like the memories. This would be nice.
Yeah, nice. A lot of good suggestions. For this game, I think Nintendo sacrificed some storytelling to focus on their non-linear game progression. Oh, and we didn't talk about emergent storytelling. All the crazy things that you as a player went through and that you're telling others. That's really strong in Breath of the Wild, stronger than in other Zelda games. We didn't really talk about that, but yeah, let's leave that for the comment section. What did you think of the storytelling in the game? And perhaps you have some nice stories of your own to share. Let us know. Thanks everyone for listening. Check out Connor's channel, Frank's blog, or my Hyrule Chronicles series, where we tell our stories of the game. Frank and Connor, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure.
Until the next podcast. See you guys next time.
Bye.